ladies and gentlemen, hearty welcome to Vidvat Sabha, one-day seminar on Foreign Exchange Management Act. We in the management thought it is appropriate and most relevant topic for practicing chartered accountant, also for those who are working in industry to understand the Foreign Exchange Management Act and its compliance as an important subject to all of us. So we have invited an eminent CA to inaugurate this one-day seminar. CA G V Krishna sir is with us. May I request chairman to escort him on board as. And I also request our program coordinator CA Vivek Malya and first technical faculty CA Chengappa is with us. Request all of you to come on board as. I request chairman to welcome all of them with a flower bouquet. Please welcome CA G V Krishna. Please welcome Vivek Malya. Please welcome CA Chengappa. Thank you, chairman. I request chairman to make welcome address.
ವಿಜಯ ವಂದಿತ ಗಣಪ ಮಹಾತ್ಮರು ಮತ್ತಿಗೆ ಮಂಗಳವ. ಭಾರತೀಯ ಸನ್ನಿಹಿತ ಲೆಕ್ಕಿಗರ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ ದಕ್ಷಿಣ ಭಾರತ ಪ್ರಾಂತೀಯ ಪರಿಷತ್ತು ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ಶಾಖೆಯಿಂದ ಇವತ್ತು ಹಮ್ಮಿಕೊಂಡಿರುವಂತಹ ವಿದ್ವತ್ ಸಭಾ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಮುಖ್ಯ ಅತಿಥಿಯಾಗಿ ಆಗಮಿಸಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿಕೊಂಡಾಗ ತುಂಬು ಹೃದಯದಿಂದ ಒಪ್ಪಿಕೊಂಡಂಥವರು CA G V ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಅವರು. ಎಲ್ಲರ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಹೃದಯದ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನು ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ಈ ವಿದ್ವತ್ ಸಭಾ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಫಾರಿನ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಚೇಂಜ್ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಕ್ಟ್ ಕುರಿತಾಗಿ ಒಂದು ದಿವಸದ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಆಗಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿಕೊಂಡಾಗ ಆ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ರೂಪರೇಷೆಗಳನ್ನ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಹೀಗೆ ಇಂತಿಂತಹ ಸೆಷನ್ಗಳು ಇರಬೇಕು, ಇಂತಿಂತಹ ವಾಗ್ಮಿಗಳೇ ಬರಬೇಕು, ಈ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸಂಪೂರ್ಣವಾದಂತಹ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ರೂಪರೇಷೆಯನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟಂಥವರು ನಮ್ಮ ಹಳೆ ಕಾಲದ ಮಿತ್ರರಾದಂತಹ CA ವಿವೇಕ್ ಮಲ್ಯ ಅವರು. ನಮ್ಮ ಪರವಾಗಿ ತುಂಬ ಹೃದಯದ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನು ಕೋರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ವಾಗ್ಮಿಗಳಾಗಿ ತಾವು ಆಗಮಿಸಿರಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿಕೊಂಡಾಗ CA ಚೆಂಗಪ್ಪ ಅವರು ಆತ್ಮೀಯವಾಗಿಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವರಿಗೆಲ್ಲ ತುಂಬ ಹೃದಯದ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನು ಕೋರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ. ಯಾವುದೇ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ನಾವು ಹಮ್ಮಿಕೊಂಡ್ರೂ ಸಹಿತ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ಪಂದಿಸುವುದಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಆ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಸಂಖ್ಯೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಪಂದಿಸುವಂತಹ ತಮ್ಮ ಆ ಸ್ಪಂದನೆಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ ಆಡಳಿತ ಮಂಡಳಿಯ ಪರವಾಗಿ ನಿಮಗೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ತುಂಬ ಹೃದಯದ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನು ನಾನು ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ ಈ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ. ಫಾರಿನ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಚೇಂಜ್ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಕ್ಟಿನ ಕುರಿತಾಗಿ ಒಂದು ದಿವಸದ ಸಂಪೂರ್ಣವಾದಂತಹ ಅಧ್ಯಯನ ಆಗಬೇಕು. ಯಾಕೆಂದರೆ ಈ ವಿಷಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಆಳವಾದಂತಹ ಪರಿಣತಿ ನಮಗೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಅನಿಸಿದ್ರು ಒಂದು ಸರ್ತಿ ಮೆಲುಕು ಹಾಕಿ ನೋಡಿದಾಗ ಎಷ್ಟು ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಯಾಕೆಂದರೆ ಪ್ರತಿ ವರ್ಷ ನಾವು ಜುಲೈನಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಸ್ಟರ್ ಸರ್ಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತವೆ. ಅದಾದಮೇಲೆ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಚೇಂಜಸ್ಗಳು, ಬದಲಾವಣೆಗಳು ಆಗ್ತಾನೆ ಇರ್ತವೆ. ಹಾಗಿದ್ದಾಗ ಅಷ್ಟಷ್ಟು ದಿವಸಕ್ಕೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಹೊಸದಾಗಿ ಇದನ್ನು ಅಧ್ಯಯನ ಮಾಡುವಂತಹ ಅನಿವಾರ್ಯತೆ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ಹಮ್ಮಿಕೊಳ್ಳಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ನಮ್ಮ ವಿಚಾರ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ರೀತಿಯಾದಂತಹ ಸಹಕಾರವನ್ನು ನೀಡುವಂತಹ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನು ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಯಶಸ್ವಿಯಾಗುವಂತ ಆಶಿಸ್ತಾ ನನ್ನ ಮಾತನ್ನು ಧನ್ಯವಾದ.
Thanks, Chairman, for a sweet and short welcome address. Friends, it's my pleasure to introduce our chief guest for the day is going to inaugurate this seminar. CA G V Krishna is a practicing chartered accountant having more than 30 years of experience. He is currently on the board of Hindustan Petroleum Corporation Limited, HPCL, Navaratna PSU, as an independent director. Mr. Krishna was formerly a director on the board of Karnataka Apex Cooperative Bank Limited. He is a regular commentator on Kannada news channels. He is the national president of Forward Foundation, an NGO working in the field of environment and sustainable development. More than that, a fascinating personality, CA G V Krishna. With this brief intro, I present CA G V Krishna before you. Please join me to welcome him once again. Friends, we have two other eminent personalities on the dais. CA Vivek Malya is the coordinator for this today's one-day seminar. He is also a practicing chartered accountant and also a CPA from the USA. Apart from being a master graduate in commerce, he has worked both in industry and as a consulting in the last being a partner of Big Four firm, both in Bangalore and Hyderabad. He is currently on the board of ONGC and MRPL, both central PSUs in Navaratnas. Will currently practices as a CA in his own name and consults on audit, income tax, PAMA and banking matters. He is also an insolvency resolution professional. With this brief introduction, I present CA Vivek Malya before you. Please join me to welcome. As a first technical session speaker, we have with us CA Changappa Ponnappa, commonly known as Chengi, is a partner in the tax and regulatory services practice of PwC India. Chengi has over 19 years of experience advising clients across several industries including technology, financial services, manufacturing, industrial products and healthcare. His experience encompasses the field of Indian domestic and international tax, advising clients on corporate reorganization including cross-border restructuring initiatives, devising entry strategies into India, structuring of investment and exits, mergers and acquisitions, strategies and due diligence reviews. Chengi has extensive experience in buy-side due diligence and vendor due diligence cutting across sectors including technology. With this brief introduction, I please join me to welcome CA Chengi. Now I request CA Vivek Malya to the overview of this program.
Good morning, everyone. Friday morning, so we begin a full day of foreign exchange action. So quite a bit to cover today. So first let me do the introduction. Again, the reintroduction of G V Krishna, who is our chief guest today. He also moonlights when he has time as the economic advisor and also a national convener of the Bharatiya Janata Party CSL. So I take this opportunity to first give some 2 or 3 requests from the institute and all of us as chartered accountants to Mr. G V Krishna to see if some action can happen on this point. The second, I will also introduce the speaker and why we chose this subject and what sequence we chose and why the speakers as well. So first to G V Krishna sir, 1 or 2 things which I request your good office also to take up with. There is a FDI manual. Earlier we were looking at Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion website, which comes under the Ministry of Commerce, and the FDI manual is an annual event. So every year it used to come out as the FDI manual, which people across the world refer to for foreign direct investment into India. We stopped this practice in August 2017. August 2017 was the last FDI manual which is printed and currently available on the DITB website. Most of it is now grandfathered into the RBI's master direction. But somewhere I think there is a lack of coordination between Department of Industrial Policy Promotion having an FDI policy lying there, which is dated August 2017. So that needs a bit of help from your side to speak to the right people so that either we put, it represents India internationally. So if anybody is looking at India's FDI policy, they look at DITB website. So if you can see what we can do with that, that is one request we have for you. The second is most of these master directions are, this comes under the RBI. I'm not sure how best we can address this at this point. Most of the master directions earlier were an annual event again. July used to be the go-to place for any changes in the master direction. Now the changes happen in the master direction on a unsequential, for lack of another word, not on a sequential basis or not on a set date. So every time you look at how FEMA stands at any point in time, you need to go back into the RBI website to see what is the latest amendment in the master direction. So if there is certainty that yes, earlier it used to be July. July, you know that things are going to change, and there is a certainty that till next July, things may change, which are radical. Otherwise, business as usual, at least for 1 year. So this practice of consistency is something which helps, because FEMA is no longer what it used to be. It has become rule-based. Earlier, FERA and FEMA used to be principle-based. So we used to know what is right and what is wrong, and people had the scope to interpret. Now it's rule-based because everything has a number, everything has a timeline, everything has a number of days, and all of this is specific. And if they change, and us as practicing chartered accountants or the industry who are expected to follow these regulations are not keeping up to date with those changes, then it's a bit of a, a challenge. And offences are now compoundable. Most offences in FEMA are compoundable, but involve fees. And these fees sometimes can extrapolate depending on the value of the transaction. So if you can have some, at least request is if you can push for some consistency and for at least a year, what we used to do before, July used to be the cut-off date. If you can have an FDA policy which is consistent, and July is a best time for amendments. So having said that, so we'll have 4 sessions today. One, we will request Chengi to help us with overview of Foreign Exchange Management Act and foreign direct investment. That itself is quite extensive and quite exhaustive. So we chose him as because of his international experience also. Chengi has worked in the US as part of a Big Four firm, managing the India desk there. So he brings with him a perspective of what Americans or North America looks at in India as an investment and what questions they ask from a US perspective or a investment perspective. So he spent for about 4 years there, and he was a partner heading the India desk in the US, in New York. So we chose him and we requested him to be present here. He comes with an interesting track record also. His mother was the fastest Indian before sprinting before PT Usha. His father won a silver medal for India in the Asian Games. His sister was a national tennis champion, Arti Ponappa from Karnataka, national tennis champion. His brother-in-law was a Davis Cup champion, Gaurav Natekar. And Chengi, I've known him for many years, and Chengi has represented in the nationals in 2 sports, tennis and athletics, So he comes from a family of athletics representing Karnataka. So we're proud of him as a Kannadiga. So thank you. Second session it shows is appellate procedure, compounding under FEMA, and overview. Compounding, the options are available now. You can choose to pay the fees, which is late service fees or late submission fees as they call it under FEMA, and compound your offence, regularize your offence without going into the compounding procedure. Sometimes this becomes burdensome, sometimes this becomes heavy, and paying any penalty under any law today has a trail, has an audit trail on the internet or on the public domain or on the websites with other regulators look at. So creating an audit trail sometimes is a big problem, and these may affect your ability to raise funds, ratings. We don't know where all these fees turn up. So sometimes you may need to you may need to make a tough decision and appeal. There's a beautiful process of appeals under FEMA which we very rarely followed, but Chidanand will help us, because Chidanand has represented clients in both the Appellate Tribunal in Delhi, Special Director's Appeal in Chennai, as well as in the High Court and Supreme Court. So he understands FEMA and he's been practicing that for the last 2 decades plus. As a lawyer, he's a chartered accountant also, but practices as a lawyer currently. So we chose Chidanand for that. Gautam again is a practicing advocate and comes with a accounting background. I'm not sure which it is, CMA or CS, one of the things. So he helps his clients on overseas direct investment and under the liberalized remittance scheme. transactions, specific transactions and compliance of these transactions. So I think Gautam has also, his father and him have both practiced in FEMA for decades. They have also co-authored a book for Bharat publication on Foreign Exchange Management Act with Arvind Data. So he comes with a lot of experience on overseas direct investment and Indians investing abroad. The last, so we chose this as overview, appellate proceedings, overseas investment in LRS, and the last we covered the, what they call the rest of the world. So whatever is left behind, external commercial borrowings, very interesting changes are happening in the last 1 year in external commercial borrowing. We'll cover all of that. Exports and imports, traditionally neglected, but a lot of FEMA procedures involving exports and imports, and what banks expect you as a constituent to comply with. Export imports, and also NRIs and OCIs. NRIs and OCIs traverse across the foreign exchange manual. They are used in quite a number of places as NRIs and OCIs. They forget that they are no longer a person resident in India, and they act and behave as if they are a person resident in India. So we have brothers, sisters, clients, colleagues who are now become NRI by virtue of their change in status. So these traverse across the FEMA regulations. So we will try and pick out what are important non-compliance issues we turn up, and we highlight them as to what is the right thing to do. So this is the overview of the program today. Quite extensive, quite rule-based, and every, it's transaction-based. Every transaction seems to have a rule nowadays under FEMA. So pay attention, you have beautiful time to make notes, good day to, good weather also. We hope to finish before it starts raining. So we'll try and finish as quickly as possible. So now I give it back to Shri sir.
Thank you, Mr. Madhya, for a wonderful overview of the program. Now let us seek Almighty's blessing through lighting the lamp. Request our dignitaries on the dais to do the honor.
सुप्तेषु जाग्रति य एष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति कामं 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 कामपुरुषो पुरुषो निर्विमानः निर्विमानः तदेव शुक्रं तद्ब्रह्मा
Friends, Almighty blessed us. Now I request our Chief Guest, to address the gathering.
Good morning, everybody. I'm not used to public speaking because of Vivek Bhajan here. And I never address public on that too when experts like Vivek, Chenny and others are there. We are more eager to listen to them. And in today's context, the subject which is chosen is really excellent. And I think all are aware that the recent issues in politics and financial world makes it more relevant for today's topics are more relevant. And being a small-time practicing chartered accountant, we don't get such opportunities to even practice on these issues. But leaving that, most of the times we are being questioned on certain investments in companies and foreign exchange remittances, and especially some issues with regard to some penalties and other things. So my knowledge with regard to this was limited to that. But after associating with Vivek on certain issues and also being a director in a large company, we came across a lot of issues which are very interesting and very relevant from today's point of view. And I feel most of them in the practice we are having experts to advise us in Bangalore. Regarding this topic, I just wanted to say that my own experience, I was just thinking that it is very difficult to look into these FMI issues, and particularly when one of my clients wanted to invest overseas, I was really worried how to take it forward, how difficult it is, and especially ODI. And to my surprise, when I started working on that, it was really easy for us, and because it is most of it is submission through online and the procedures being automated as of now, it was very easy for us to invest in a company in China or in South Korea. So it took some time only at the beginning to worry about it, and later I realized that it is really very system-driven, process-driven, which is very easy for everybody to get involved in this. Now coming to the subject, what they have chosen on FEMA, FDI, PMLA, and import-export procedures, foreign remittance issues, especially in today's context that the PMLA is very important, and being a chartered accountant and also looking at the today's issues involving the society, I felt that this recent amendments to PMLA is very important for all of us to understand, and we should give more importance to that. We realize that the ED is taking a lot of initiatives and action on certain issues. Even though it is nothing new in this, but the importance of penal provisions and especially PMLA, even taking even that Prevention of Corruption Act coming under PMLA makes it more important. And personally, I feel being CS, we should be very careful. Tax planning is one thing, but tax avoidance and other issues, we should be extremely careful, because of late the blame is coming on CS. They say recently we have seen PMC bank issue. Everybody, when a common man says, what was CA doing in that bank? When 3,000 crores are taken out of the bank, people say, what is the CA doing? My own son says, what the CS are doing? They say they created so many accounts, 3,000 accounts or something, and they have taken out the money from the bank. That was really shocking, and I feel we should be extremely careful. I don't blame CS because it was intentional and it was fraud, which was not, they were not able to detect. But one thing we have to make sure is that these clients are to be advised about the consequences of violations. As you were saying, FEMA to an extent is compoundable. But again, FEMA with black money being kept abroad, it becomes again a criminal offence. So keeping all these things and the Black Money Act, which even gives 10 years imprisonment, we should be able to advise all our clients to be very cautious. And I am telling you very frankly, when we had ADI in one of my clients, we had no problem in meeting all the compliance issues. But in one of the cases where we delayed, really it is a headache if you don't meet the deadlines, that is the timelines. It becomes a real issue, even though some irritants like certification by company secretary and valuation of shares and other issues come. But my only request to all of you is meeting timeline is very important. Otherwise, these acts will really end up with more problems. Because I was in one of the cases where even I took Vivek's help in solving the issues, even after putting all the documents to the website, we are not able to solve that because a lot of changes have happened in between, which results in a difficult situation for even RBI also. They are not also aware of certain things. But one thing I can say that my experience with RBI is very easy and they are very cooperative. Whatever we are asking, they are helping us. And as Vivek said, certain issues on governance and like FDA manual and other issues, definitely I will convey to the finance minister. Even though of late we are seeing in Companies Act and other acts, the compliance burden is so much that one of the things I am thinking is very difficult to practice as an individual chartered accountant today. That is the situation it has come. So the compliance part maybe, if it is reduced, it is even better. But with regard to this July circular, master circular, what you said, I feel in a very dynamic changing situation it will be difficult for them also. And you know, our country is run by bureaucracy. Bureaucracy takes over the political leadership. So it is very difficult to change that because it's my own experience with a lot of bureaucrats. Very difficult to change, but definitely I'll put in a word and whatever has to be done, we'll be able to do it. One more issue I just wanted to say that this, the latest over-activism I say of this government agencies. One of my clients is a pharmaceutical company, he's having a branch in Austria. Taking all due permissions from RBI and all process was followed and they had invested in Austria. And it's a listed company being traded in stock exchange. Very recently we received a note from one of the bankers saying that your company is in the shell company list of government with a warning on shell company. But we were surprised, what is the reason for putting it? The accounts which are maintained outside India and the accounts which were used for investment abroad, because it was a one-time investment, not many transactions it was done, based on that they had put this in shell company. The officials who were involved in that, they were not even aware to inquire whether it is a running company, it's a manufacturing company, it's a duly approved investment outside India. Then it took almost 3 months for us to take it out of the shell companies. These issues, I think, more than apart from the CAs and industry people, even the bureaucracy and the officials in the department also should be told about all these things. Because it was a real nightmare because it's a listed company, it affects the share value and somebody on the stock exchange questions on that, again it becomes a problem. So these issues I was facing that. Then one more important issue which to my experience I want to say is that any late payment of imports also leads to a lot of procedural aspects, certification and procedures, which I think our experts will speak on that later. So ultimately I just want to say that you have to meet the deadlines, otherwise under FEMA and other acts what we are discussing today, it becomes a real issue. And especially on, please spend some time on PMLA and advise your clients about the latest amendments which ends up covering everything in PMLA and it becomes a major problem, especially with regard to cash handling and other issues which clients take it very casually. They feel they have right to do whatever they want to do. In spite of advice from all of us, there are mistakes in that. Those aspects, I think, especially penal provisions, you can explain to them in a better way. Then my request to the institute is to have a Q&A like RBI website has, a Q&A on these matters whenever we make a seminar. The outcome of the seminar can be put in a Q&A format, and anybody can refer it, and if possible we can come out with a note also on that, which can be in a soft copy can be sent to every CA. Those who are not come here also can be done on that. 2-3 things I just wanted to ask experts. We read in newspapers saying that EDA has attached 3,500 crores recently. The PMC Bank of Vagons and Kingfisher, they have attached around 8,000 crores. So what exactly is the consequence of that? Whether it is physical attachment or what procedure it takes for them to realize and pay back to the banks and other things. These things can be explained to us in a better way so that we understand also, especially on attachment properties. So today also I saw a news saying that they have attached around 3,000 crores of assets of advance of PMC Bank. Whether it ends up with physical attachment and later it requires some other legal issues to realize and pay back to the government, especially it is a public money involved. So with this, I just wish the Institute all success in this one-day seminar on this, and thank Vivek and others for coming to this.
Thanks, CA G V Krishna sir, share your practical experience. Thank you very much. Friends, it is our honor to felicitate CA G V Krishna on this moment. So, request dignitaries on the dais to do the honor. Thank you, CA G V Krishna, for accepting our felicitation. Friends, it is my privilege to propose a vote of thanks for this inaugural session. First and foremost, our wholehearted thanks to CA G V Krishna accepting our invitation and come here and inaugurated this one-day seminar. Thank you very much. Please stand in the round of applause. Our special thanks to CA Vivek Malya for coordinating this program and identified the excellent faculty for this event. Thank you, Mr. Malya. And our thanks to CA Chengi for accepting invitation and come here to address on the first technical session. And our thanks due to all our other faculties, resource persons who are going to come in next two sessions. Thank you very much, and last but not the least, special thanks to each one of you for your active participation. Thank you very much. Now we will proceed with our first technical session.